Today's episode of the Riderflex podcast is sponsored by our friends at Mortal Kombucha. Handcrafted in small batches, Mortal Kombucha is bubbly smooth, super refreshing, and absolutely energizing. A revitalized kombucha energy drink ramped up with some awesome. Visit them at mortalkombucha.com. And on today's episode of the Riderflex podcast, no call, no shows. How'd we get there? Oh, you don't recognize the term? I'll explain it to you. Employees that are scheduled for shifts, they just don't show up and they don't bother to call anybody. That's a no call, no show. Now, a lot of you probably recognize that term, right? If you're in retail or, I don't know, construction or warehousing or logistics, I'm sure this applies to all kinds of industries, actually. You probably recognize it. You've probably had to deal with it if you're a supervisor or a manager or a business owner of any kind. You're probably dealing with this no call, no show culture we've somehow created. Wasn't like that when I was younger. I don't know how we got there. I really don't. I started managing retail stores when I was in my 20s, right? Like back in 1990 when I first became a manager. And I managed for a long time, 15, 20 years. And that was never allowed. I mean, as a manager, I can just tell you, if I had employees that were scheduled for a shift and they didn't show up and they didn't bother to call me and tell me what was up, guess what? They didn't work there anymore. Somehow we've created this situation now to where people can just have this type of behavior and it's okay, or they think it's okay. Did you know that there are some companies out there? Somebody just told me this recently. Their company allows employees to have like 3 no call, no shows in a row before they're terminated. So, what? Who's coming up with this stuff? By the way, if somebody's in the hospital and they're in a coma and they can't pick up the phone, okay, that's one thing. But seriously, beyond that, in today's world, everybody's got a cell phone. I mean, you got to at least call, right? I mean, come on. We are teaching people that this type of behavior is okay. We're actually sending the message to employees that it's okay to just crap all over the employer, right? We're saying to them, hey, you don't need to be responsible. You can treat people like crap. You don't have to have any respect for your fellow employees or your supervisor. That's the message we're sending by allowing this behavior, just so you know. I don't know how we got there. Craziness, right? Craziness. I can't even imagine back when I was younger, if my parents found out that I no called, no showed an employer. Oh, God. I mean, my dad would have whooped my ass. What are you talking about? That's crazy behavior. I don't know how we got there. So what's my point of this podcast? My point is I'm ranting about it, first of all, just to make myself feel better. I'm ranting about it. But no, really, my point is this. I don't care what kind of crazy ass rules the company has made up to send this message to employees that this type of behavior is okay. I don't care about that. What I do care about is if you're a parent or a grandparent or a guardian, especially if some of the younger professionals in the world, like, come on, man, you got to tell them this is not cool. Like, this kind of behavior is not cool. And by the way, this is not what's going to make you successful in life. Running around crapping on people, making bad decisions like this and not communicating properly and all the rest of it. I mean, you got to tell them, like, say, I don't care what your company rule is. I don't care if they say you can no call, no show 6 times in a row. You ain't doing that because your last name is Urban and that's not how we operate. I mean, that's my message here on this podcast is really to the mentors, right? The advisors, the parents, the guardians. I mean, come on, man. This behavior is not cool. Don't know how we got here. I really don't. It wasn't like that back in the day, not when I was younger. So I'm not sure how we got there. I blame all the... Oh, never mind. It's somebody's fault, though. It's somebody's fault. Anyway, there is my, not tip of the day, but my rant of the day. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.